Hi, everybody. We're about to share out. You can see myself and Diane Moxley in the studio right now. You can see our cool graphic for a second. Now's the time to start your watch parties. Now's the time to share out. Make a little quick post. Page managers, feel free to share out on your pages as well. In your groups is a great place. So if you know anti-capitalist revolutionary groups, into things like that we discuss here on New Jersey Revolution Radio. We appreciate you taking a few minutes during our introduction segments, type out a post, start your watch parties. We're going to get going. Tonight's show is sponsored by Middlesex Mutual. We're going to talk about that. We're going to have a conversation with Roxanne Sutocky from the Cherry Hill Women's Center, who's been an ongoing comrade at New Jersey Revolution Radio, involved in weed, women, and wellness, as well as abortion access. I believe she's been a guest on Wine, Women, and Revolution. Not Roxanne, have you been yet? She's been there. So I see her. She's already in the green room waiting. So I'm going to start the music, and then we're going to get going here. New Jersey Revolution Radio Live. Diane Moxley, Brian Powers. Here we go. Good evening, everybody. This is Brian Powers. We are live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. going out on Twitter, going out on Facebook Live, going out on our YouTube channel. So make sure if you're checking us out, before you pop off, hit subscribe or get your notifications in so we can let you know when we appear, because we say 8 o'clock, but like any other lefty meeting or thing at a library or getting together with your friends at a bar, we mean, 8:05, it tends to be, but we do our best here at New Jersey Revolution Radio. Your support means a lot. You can make a small donation. You can make a large donation. You can make any kind of donation you'd like at www.njrevolutionradio.com. Just go to the Donate to Independent Media tab. You can check out Commie-Zon. You can buy No More Measles. Or you can just get on our mailing list so we can send you a monthly email with all of our great work there wrapped up in one neat little package for you. So check us out. Good evening to my partner, my comrade, who I haven't gotten together with now in 5 or 6 or 7. I mean, it's really been a while. How are you over there in Union County?
Just quarantining, right? Staying in home.
But you've been able to work from home. Those of us that had already kind of had careers where we could stay at home and do some work have been enjoying some of that privilege to be able to work in a world that's now kind of got to work with us a little more,
Yeah, it's interesting. And we're all learning how unequipped we are to work virtually. We use something called e-courts, and that was down for many glitches just when you need it. Things crash. We hear all sorts of meetings having Zoom problems. I think we're figuring out how to end that, but yeah, we're just making the best of it, right?
Exactly. Happy Earth Day. Happy Earth Day to everybody. I definitely owe Food and Water Watch and Matt Smith and all them an apology, because we should have done something. I remember a couple months ago, we'll do something for Earth Day. And with everything going on over the last month or so, I had scheduled Roxanne and the opportunity to talk to a former sitting Assemblywoman. I think was intriguing to me, particularly a Republican Assemblywoman. So there was no way I was going to move this show around, because our comrades have been too good to us, especially Roxanne. But Food and Water Watch, who have been there since the very start at New Jersey Revolution Radio, long ago. I mean, when it was me on a cell phone, me in the corner of my living room days. They've been there, and so shout out to their work, to all them. They support a lot of work outside of just the realm of environmental activities. They definitely have their own political agendas revolving around the environment and environmental issues. But Matt's he's a good dude and a good revolutionary, as well as many of them over there.
Yeah, absolutely.
What'd you do to celebrate Earth Day? I know you did something. You're a gardener in the dirt doing something.
Well, I'm doing my gardening on a regular. I wouldn't say I was able to do the activities I would typically be able to do.
Yeah.
but we're doing our best in the age of the coronavirus. But while we're talking about Earth Day, I think it's important also to touch on the fact that we can resolve so many issues by just getting rid of our humongous U.S. military budget and the military industrial complex, which is one of the world's greatest polluters. So, hey, in one clean swoop with significant cuts, we can end the wars, we can save lives, and we can save the planet. So let's remember that, folks.
There's been a call, echoing the call from United Nations and many other organizations for a global ceasefire. Which we should not need a health crisis to see, because we shouldn't be shooting other human beings for any reason. But okay, let's at least when we're trying to think of building this new world, a great new world would start off with no more wars. I would really appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's just a better place. I've been stressing, and I made the point with Baman Azad, comrade of ours who and who's been on the show a number of times. And I've been repeating it because I think it bears repeating, that, we shouldn't be lost on this moment in history. A lot of anarchists and communists and revolutionaries like to run around singing songs and making comments about building a new world from the ashes of the old. We're standing in a pile of fucking ashes right now. We're standing in a big goddamn pile of shit and disaster. The economy, nobody's going to work. It's a mess. These are the ashes. So the question is, what are we building? And, we're going to get into that. Tonight's show is sponsored by Middlesex Mutual Aid, but there's a lot of mutual aid. Shout out to Morris Mutual Aid and Union Mutual Aid and everybody that's doing this mutual aid work. I'm not mentioning it because I just haven't heard about it.
County.
Yeah, I mean, they're all over. They're all over. Here, Passaic and Zelly up there. I mean, I'm not leaving you out on purpose. It's just I'm learning.
Zelly.
And it's growing up around it. We're going to talk about that, though. We're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Okay.
I do want to give some mentions here. I have been looking around the state. I know CJ, who should be on comments. She told me she'd be on comments to do her plugs. Talked about some work going on in Asbury Park. There was a food pantry worker who succumbed to COVID-19, and in her name, they've been raising money and doing other things. So I'm sure when CJ sees this or whatever, she'll make sure she spams our wall with the links and appropriate things. But that's an example of good things going on. In Trenton, New Jersey Weed Man, I know that there was a celebration online, a Zoom room for a bunch of corporate hacks to get together and celebrate white people making money off of cannabis. New Jersey Weed Man was in Trenton. Since he owns a restaurant that does serve food on a takeout basis, he's an essential business under the law. He's operating very safely. He's got his customers required to wear masks. They're outside. He's got like this booth set up. He's selling illegal marijuana in the face of a disaster when our healthcare system cannot keep up. I live right around a dispensary. There's a line with cops around the corner. People are waiting 4 hours. People with cancer are expected to wait a couple of days and then a few hours online to get their medicine. And rather than have a Zoom room so they could kiss some politicians' asses, you know who I'm talking to. They know who I'm talking to. I don't need to name names. But the people who backed off of going after a corrupt mayor because they don't want to look too bad, they're having a celebration about 420 in a Zoom room. New Jersey Weed Man is out there acting like an essential employee, acting like a civil rights activist, and acting like a grown person who understands the seriousness of the matter. And he was selling marijuana illegally at great risk to himself to provide people with an essential service. And I think that was a great community effort that we're seeing spring up. You want to say he's just selling weed. Well, you can view it that way, but I view it as a guy who's filling in the gaps of the system instead of celebrating his political allies. That's my thoughts on that. Also, I don't know. Did you see anything? What good before? Because I gotta be upset about one thing before we get into
what's that?
Well, I want to hear something good though. Good things going on. I don't want to just rant about bad things without a Diane telling us what positive's going on in the world. A lot of people involved. You've been mentioning the mutual aid work and a lot of stuff. What have you seen that's impressive from our comrades right now during this time of need?
Oh gosh, so much. I got to follow last week Teresa Markila. and Renee with the Mutual Morris. They're doing amazing work, and following them around is hard, and giving them a little assistance here and there where I could. They are just Energizer bunnies, and they're doing so much. They're doing the lunch delivery for families who can't leave their homes. They're doing the different food bank food deliveries. They're doing shopping. They're doing everything. And it's just beautiful because you have communities coming together and getting to know each other and helping each other. Mutual aid is not charity. It's about building and strengthening communities. And it's just so beautiful. And then we have Craig Cayetano with Passaic Mutual. He's been food shopping, food delivering. Yeah. He's been delivering shields with the Shield Our Heroes movement. That's it's kind of almost like a pop-up shop where they've just taken over a kind of a loft type space in Montclair, and they're using whatever supplies they can get quickly and cheaply and creating shields for our hospital healthcare workers. And, Craig's been delivering those. And then we have Zelly Thomas and Patterson. So many meals. I think Friday evening, I was seeing what he had going on.
100 a day at least.
Yeah, I think it was just about 100. And these seniors are just so appreciative because they also have such limited contact. It's hard enough for us, and we can leave our house and get in a car. We can do some things. We're not, and these, just to see these seniors' faces light up when they see the aid and the assistance and that someone cares. And Patterson is a city that they're still getting hit pretty bad. They're taking precautions. They're doing a great job. And, shout out to all of our mutual aid heroes out there right now. They're amazing. And I know you've been doing it. You've been shopping. You've been starting it in Middlesex. So how are you feeling about in Middlesex County? What's going on?
Same credits that you gave. I mean, Teresa and Renee up there, Mutual Morris, have just been an inspiration. And so we've developed, we've got about 5 families right now that we've made one run. I made a second run to one of the first families today. And we're just starting the discussion of how we can help each other out. But it's all like built on what Teresa and Renee have taught me and what I've seen Zelly do in Patterson and all these comrades around the state. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the break and more of that. We do have to bring Roxanne in the studio because that's an important conversation. But looking around the state, I've held a lot of public officials accountable. I talked about Trenton. Going back over the history of my activism, I've always held public officials, regardless where they're at. I called out cops in my hometown. Going back, you and I were down in Toms River when they had a Nazi racist on their school board, and the police had to encourage me to leave for a little while before I actually did. I'm just saying that, it is part of what New Jersey Revolution Radio does to call out public officials, regardless of party, too. We've done it to Republicans and we've done it to Democrats. And that's why it hurts when somebody who I've supported goes out and acts irresponsible, and somebody who's not elected as a Green. But Erica Jocko at the Bellevue School Board did run as a Green one time and then ran again with, and she's been supportive. And I've raised money for her, and she's had Green meetings. So she is publicly affiliated with the Green Party. And I cannot see what I saw her post on Facebook and not mention it, given what I've mentioned into other parties. And I've also made the claim repeatedly that I put aside my personal politics and my communism for the public good. And I can't make an exception for Erica. And I feel badly because I kind of like her. But her statements on Facebook to the regards that she will not accept mandatory vaccinations, and then seeing the posts on her wall encouraging the idea that we will be locked in our homes unless we take vaccinations that are mandated by the state and Governor Murphy and other various bad conspiracy theory. When we've worked so hard here at New Jersey Revolution Radio to advance a better image for the Green Party, I have to call it out. And so, I'm disappointed personally. I'm not a member of the executive council anymore. I like that because I am independent and I can put a bit of a media eye on things. Diane, you're still a member of the council there, but these kinds of statements, and she's not on the council. She's not an official Green Party. I don't even know if she's a Green Party member. I'll be honest with you. But I know she's been affiliated and she's associated with us. So, I can't hold back. And I struggled with it a little bit, but I do have to make that statement that I hope that her affiliation with the Green Party and the work that Diane, you've done, the work that Christian Perez has put out, the work that, all of us have done to try to get the Green Party to become a more legitimate power in the state, can talk to Erica. Those of you that are closer with us, I know we've got a lot of comrades around, but her statements have been irresponsible and dangerous, just like anybody else. I got to mention it. So with that being said, we're going to move along.
Right now, we have a lot of misinformation right now. I think she might have been repeating a soundbite about mandatory COVID-19 vaccines, and flu vaccines are never mandatory. And I know there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of fear. I'm really, really, really angry at the conspiracy theorists out there that are preying upon people's fear, and they've run amok. I think Erica is good people. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt that she is taking in some information from bad sources. But I know that I think we can have a talk and just try to get, we got to filter through this bullshit that's out there polluting people's minds. And just, there's a lot of misinformation. Check your sources. There are no mandatory COVID-19 vaccines, and there is likely not going to be mandatory COVID-19 vaccinations. Yeah. So, I get a flu shot every year, and I'm proud to say that. And I think everyone should, but they've never been mandatory. So we'll talk.
Yeah. Like any other, I encourage, and if anybody's listening, if you hold a position of authority, if you've got a platform, if you're an elected official, if you've got a media platform, if you talk to people at the counter at your store every day, and you're going to talk about this, you have a personal responsibility about the information you pass along. And if you're an elected public official, and we see it here in New Jersey Revolution Radio, we're going to call it out because it's the only way in a crisis like this to really hold everybody responsible for what their words are. And the public shall judge, and the people that elect these people will judge. And that's our part in it. That's our part as independent media. Roxanne Sutocky is here, and she is one of my heroes. I don't know if you know this. I think I've told her that before. She probably doesn't believe it. Like most of my heroes don't believe that they're one of my heroes, but she is. And welcome to the program, comrade. How you been?
Good. Thanks so much for having me on tonight. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah, so glad to have you, Roxanne.
Yeah,
amazing. I don't know that you and Diane, have you ever met in person? I'm sure you're familiar with each other through the network.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
Diane,
well,
Roxanne, Diane.
Yeah, you're way down south.
I'm very, very South Jersey based. Yeah, we're about 15 minutes outside of Philadelphia here in Clementon, so Camden County.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been mentioning Diane, we've been mentioning Roxanne on the show for last month. She's the Cherry Hill Women's Center and Roxanne have been sponsoring New Jersey Revolution Radio Live for the past month. And so she's here this week to make the final push for their April 24th online fundraiser. I will be doing yoga, I believe, live, making my small donation. And I hope you all will join us as well. But I mean, when we talk about, some of you may have heard, and I know, like we talked about a little bit about it in the lead up to this interview, the things going on around the country. And Texas has been one of the hot spots, but I know there's more going on that Roxanne will fill us in. But as an example, the governor of Texas, who again, his name is just not important, and he's not an important person, although he would like himself to be. And that's why he has decided that women in need of abortion services it's not an essential service, which is one of the most unbelievably stupid things I've ever heard in my life. So women right now in Texas and in other parts of the country are in a panic. They're leaving the state. They're traveling during a fucking pandemic to get a life-saving service rather than possibly getting it nearer to their home in a safer environment without the risk of travel and all that. Unfortunately, this is the situation that this dumbass who is in charge has put them in. And Roxanne is one of the people helping, and she's been one of the people helping these kinds of situations for a long time. That's my hero. That's pretty easy to understand, right, Diane?
Yeah. Yeah. So are you feeling any of these impacts at your facility?
Yeah, so as Brian mentioned, I've been doing this work for quite a long time. I work with the Women's Centers, which is an organization that is a group of independent abortion providers. So we actually have 5 clinics in 4 states. The clinic that I'm based out of is in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. We're one of the largest providers of abortion care in the first and second trimester. We're a high volume ambulatory surgical care center. So we see people from all over the state. I know you mentioned we're in South Jersey, but we're really the closest provider for folks as far down as Cape May. So we have people within the state who travel hours to access care with us, but also because we can see patients through 24 weeks at our clinic, we also see a lot of patients who are traveling out of state even before all of this COVID stuff happened. Because state by state, there are governors that are passing different laws to make abortion more and more inaccessible. So New Jersey is kind of a place where we have just less restrictions overall. We also have clinics in Pennsylvania, Connecticut, and Georgia. So all very, very different landscapes when it comes to access. Connecticut, as you might expect, a little bit closer to New Jersey, none of the major restrictions that we see in some of the more hostile states. Atlanta takes every opportunity, Georgia, that they can to restrict access. We've seen gestational limit bans pass. Most recently, Georgia had a notorious 6-week ban on abortion that would ban nearly all abortions in the state. But I think a little bit less unexpectedly, Pennsylvania actually is closer to one of these states like Texas and Louisiana when it comes to abortion access. Planned Parenthood versus Casey is one of the Supreme Court cases, that really started to chip away at reproductive health and rights. And we saw that come out of Pennsylvania. And so Pennsylvania actually has a whole slew of laws where you have to be given a script that's read to you by a physician 24 hours before your appointment. Not a script written by a doctor, but written by Pennsylvania politicians that is meant to persuade people to continue their pregnancy and then are forced to wait 24 hours after hearing that script. There's also restrictions on abortion access, forced parental notification for young people. And so right now in this moment, we're seeing just how problematic all of those restrictions that have been mounting up over the years have been for people.
Wow. And so there's in New Jersey, we are not considering access to abortion a non-essential service. So things are going fairly smoothly in New Jersey, or are you being affected in New Jersey?
Yeah, so I will say that we have definitely seen a need for patients who've had to travel from some of these states that have been impacted. I mean, it's almost hard to keep up with at this point. We're talking a lot about Texas, but Ohio, Arkansas, Louisiana, all of the states that you usually see that are very hostile towards abortion have manipulated this moment to push abortion further out of reach for people in their state. So I would say we've seen the impact in that end. But actually, I do have to, extend my gratitude to Governor Murphy, who in all of his actions to protect the general public health during this crisis, actually explicitly named reproductive health services, time-sensitive care like termination of pregnancy as an essential service. So right from the get-go, we knew that we would be able to continue to provide care. I think in this moment, just providing healthcare generally has its own challenges. Staffing, people need childcare, concerns about how to use social distance in a high volume center, things that we have had to make a lot of changes to ensure that people can continue to come to work and to access our services and still be safe. I will say one of the things that has had a big impact on just the day-to-day clinic life. Don't think anybody goes into the work of abortion care, not expecting to have some level of harassment. We have protesters outside of the facility, almost daily at all times of the year. But this COVID, pandemic happened right in the middle of something called 40 Days of Life, which lines up with Lent. And that's when protesters come out in larger numbers at clinics across the United States. And right now they're continuing to act in, unhygienic and aggressive ways, targeting staff, targeting patients accessing services, totally disregarding the social distancing and stay-at-home orders. And unfortunately, our public responders, who are spread thin in this moment as well, have had to mitigate some of that. So I think we've been seeing a lot on both sides of the. It's just
wow. And so we know we have a fundraiser coming up for you guys on Friday. Correct. So
yeah.
Some links in and keep our viewers informed.
Yep.
But what can our viewers do with what's going on at your clinic? What's going on nationally? Because I know also part of your job is you also work with educating on these issues, correct? And making sure that there's access. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what can we do?
Yeah, so there's a lot of ways that people can plug in. So I first work with the Women's Centers and Cherry Hill Women's Center, and in that role, I help to facilitate a group of volunteers who actually help to walk our patients in past protesters. They get to wear cute rainbow clinic escort vests.
Nice.
Yeah, and
Cool.
I think if you're somebody who is able to stand stoically in the face of a lot of really horrendous, often, very brutal, racist, terrible things being shouted at you to help people access healthcare, which is a wild ass need, but it exists. It's a good role for you. We also definitely encourage folks for the Women's Center just to get on our mailing list, follow us on social media so that they can plug in and learn a little bit about what we're up to. And thanks. Yeah, that's us. If you go to that Take Action link, you can actually follow us on email. You can fill out a volunteer application and you can make a donation directly to the clinic. I'd say independent abortion providers are different than other providers that may be affiliated with a large hospital system or a national affiliate. We're really like small businesses essentially that are offering healthcare. And what we've seen on the federal level from anti-abortion legislators is that they are using the Hyde Amendment language in all of the COVID response bills. So really reducing access to any of those supportive funds for either people who are seeking care at abortion facilities or the offices that actually provide care, which is really problematic for some of these clinics that are being forced to close, right, and lay off their staff. So I also work as a board trustee for New Jersey Abortion Access Fund, which is a nonprofit organization, and we're hosting our annual fundathon event right now.
All right.
So there's
and that's the link running. Yep.
Yes.
So it's commercial. You can hang out. We could put some.
Okay. That's good. Good transition.
And we get into the commercials, but so we have to get into that because of time. I see Rodriguez-Gregg is in the studio in the green room, ready for her segment. So, but as I said at the top of this interview, the Roxanne Sutocky, the Cherry Hill Women's Center, and the National Access Fund here have been sponsoring for the last month, and we thank her for joining us. I put up the link there. I spammed the walls on Twitter, on Facebook, and YouTube. So if you got that link, give her a few dollars. The Trump bucks are here for those of you that don't need it. I know people need it. You need it to pay your bills, pay your mortgage, do that stuff first. But if you have a small budget or a large budget for giving away money to worthy causes, I certainly endorse Roxanne Sutocky in any of her efforts. If you remember a few months back, we had some morning after pills that I gave away. And by the way, women were so happy to get those, Roxanne. When I had them, I don't know, Diane, if we had some people in the studio when I had them and just gave them away to women. I said, hey, you want oh my, like their faces lit up. We're overjoyed to get, I obviously won't say who I gave them to, but kind of work it brought happiness to women. So thank you, Roxanne. Tell us about how we can support you And what's going on in 2 days on the 24th?
Yes.
Yeah, well, speaking, of mutual aid, we definitely see abortion funding as community care and a way to take care of others when they are in need, especially when, the systems have really failed people. So what New Jersey Abortion Access Fund does is just give small grants directly to individuals who are accessing care but are struggling to actually pay the cost of their procedure. And so in 2 days, on Saturday, the 25th. I actually think we were saying the 24th, but it's Saturday, the 25th. And I think our website might say the 24th. And I was just looking.
I cut and paste.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna fix that.
I'll
right?
hit Casey up and we'll fix that. But yeah, Saturday, we're going to be having a restorative yoga event. It's going to be all levels, deep breathing, exercises, just really a way for us to virtually gather and kind of focus on some of that self-care while we're also, mobilizing on the ground and thinking about how we can best support our community. So any donor to any NJAF affiliated Fundathon fundraiser will be invited to join this donor-only digital wellness event Saturday, April the 25th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. And this yoga class is going to be hosted by Stephanie Barrios Collins from Yoga Gives, which is a great organization that's doing us a favor. And so we're excited to join with everybody on Saturday for that event and, really try to reach our goal, which is about $15,000. We help a couple of hundred individuals throughout the year. It's not a ton of money, but it makes a really big difference in people's lives. So I hope that you can join us. You can make a donation or you can join as a fundraiser. It's really quick, easy, and free to set up a page online and fundraise.
Brave work, comrade. Thank you very much for joining us today. And we will see you again really soon. You'll see me in that yoga studio Saturday, Sunday, day. So we'll be there.
Time doesn't matter anymore. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. We do have a couple of more sponsors. Oh, no. I love it when the music runs out because that means I'm doing a good job for my sponsors. But I just started over again. We also got to mention the August Agency. The August Agency is independent accounting. If you run a small business, if you are not with the establishment, if you need somebody to watch your money like we do here at New Jersey Revolution Radio, socialists and communists and anarchists and radicals and progressives, we're terrible at accounting. We don't like money. We kind of don't wish it exists. And that's why you need somebody like Charlie over at the August Agency. You can reach him at www.theaugustagency.biz. Tell him you heard about us on New Jersey Revolution Radio. And those of you that know Charlie, because he's on the scene and he's at these activist events, especially on immigrants' rights, you can call him 201-895-7227. Again, that's 201-895-7227, the August Agency for your accounting needs. And one more plug before we get to this big interview. Christian Perez, the Modernity and Absurdity podcast, COVID-19 conspiracy theories. He goes over them all in some detail. Christian's on the show once a month or so to keep us up to speed on current events, South American stuff, and as well as a conspiracy theory expert. Guy teaches classes on conspiracy theories. So check out his latest podcast, Modernity and Absurdity, and check him out because he's got a lot to say. It's an important time, and I love that guy. That's it for commercials. I got through them today. And now we're going to bring into studio somebody who I never thought I'd be interviewing. I think when I was, starting this podcast in my car with a cell phone, and I think it was in the middle of a nervous breakdown when I did it. I did not think within a year and a half I'd be part of booking interviews with Assemblywomen, and particularly Republican Assemblywomen. When Maria Rodriguez-Gregg reached out to me initially, I, like any other hippie, thought she was a spy, and clearly there to prod into my business and report me to the feds. But our conversation initially just really was on a lot of different topics, and I was just impressed with her story. I like struggle. I admire people that have been through it or are going through it and still find the energy and the strength to do good work as part of that struggle. And that certainly defines what I've seen from Assemblywoman Gregg. She had some trouble with the cops, and that was like a big deal a little while ago. I could care less. And even leading up to this, we're like, are we even going to talk about this? And my opinion is, if the cops case said something, I don't want to focus on it because I rarely believe them. And for those of you that have heard this story, no charges were pressed, and I don't care because for me, it's ancient history. her work on domestic violence. When she talked to me about it, I hadn't had my eyes opened as all the way as many as I haven't. I've been privileged to have a loving home for my entire life. And when I started hearing some of the stories, not just from Maria, but from other women and other people who grew up in domestic violence situations, it's some of the most terrifying things I've ever heard in my life. And it takes a very, very strong person to live through that situation, to get through it, and to come out the other side and be able to advocate is impressive. So I thank you for doing that. Assemblywoman, welcome to New Jersey Revolution Radio.
Thank you so much for having me. I'll just touch on the cop thing for a quick second, just because, I just want to say, one, I've always accepted full responsibility for my behavior, but it also helped. It led me to the path of sharing my story. A lot of people don't realize at that time is when I was experiencing getting out of the violent relationship, the physically abusive relationship that I was in. I was dealing with the police, the courts, the stress of getting a restraining order, the trauma of being in a violent situation and PTSD. And it was an eye-opening experience in making me realize that I wasn't healthy, I wasn't okay, and that this really affected me more than I wanted to say. And it led me down the path towards getting help, but also realizing that there were so many other people in my situation and that were afraid to share their story, that were afraid to get help, that were afraid to get to talk about it, and we're having difficulty navigating the courts, navigating the whole process of getting to safety and finding those resources. And so it was a blessing in disguise in that it made me share my story so that I could help others that were in these difficult situations, which is what I've been doing ever since, especially during this time. Unfortunately, everybody has been talking about how there's been an uptick in domestic violence cases. And the reality is, even though we say that there's been an uptake, a lot of it, I still believe, has gone completely underreported. People are in close proximity to their abuser. They are in a situation where they're at a home where they have no privacy, possibly. And even though there's been a rise, I think it's still underreported. And I'm just happy to have this platform to let those people that are experiencing violence know that there's help and there are resources right now during this time.
Yeah. Do you have any of our current local resources to put out to our viewers and listeners right now?
Absolutely. I mean, throughout the state. So I work with Forever Your Overwatch. Right now, you can go to Forever Your Overwatch on Facebook. You can go to fyofoundation.org, and you can reach out to them directly. Right now, they're letting everyone know that you can message them and say that you would like to know about their Atlantic City meetup, and someone will come and check on you. Or you can say you would like to buy a purple hat and include the shipping address, and they'll know that they have to contact the police and send police to that address. People are trying to find ways to help. Believe me, everyone through up and down the state are working together to find ways to ensure that people that are experiencing violence can get safety. Rutgers Law School, their domestic violence project helpline is helping those navigate the legal system during this time. A lot of courts are closed. There's limitations, but helping them navigate getting restraining orders. That phone number is 856-225-2915. If you can go to the National Coalition to End Domestic Violence, they have resources there. There's the Domestic Violence 1-800 number, which is 1-800-572-7233. You can also text NJ to 741-741. And there are so many, and this is throughout the state. These organizations work in different sectors. There's the Camden County Women's Shelter, Providence House in South Jersey. And there are shelters throughout the state that are working 24/7, that are partnering with other organizations to ensure that they have resources to, one, ensure that you're coming into a safe environment. Because of coronavirus, they want to make sure that people are separated and protected health-wise, but also so that that people know that there's a place to go. It is difficult right now because there are competing resources.
Yeah.
Yes, lots of competing resources, emergency housing for, say, motels to create that, transitional housing, any emergency housing outside of the shelter is difficult to get, but they are working. And so that's where, viewers and listeners can come in. Everybody has an ask, but if you can split it up, you can donate. Yeah, you can donate gift cards to your local shelter. You can, if you have housing, some people have apartments that aren't being rented out right now. If you can donate that to a family in need, whether that's an emergency because they're getting out of a violent situation, or, something they've been, booted, which is unfortunate that there are some landlords that are still doing that. But, if you can donate any resources, but also in this time of social distancing, check on your neighbor and check on your friends and family. That's one of the biggest keys. Check on them because they may not be able to reach out to you.
Yeah. Sometimes just lending an ear, even if even if maybe at that moment, somebody who is in a domestic violence situation, they might not say something right then and there, but you can always, like even in my neighborhood, once we went into lockdown mode, we have people with different health needs and issues. And we realized we didn't all have each other's cell phone numbers. So even if you don't know if something's going on, I think in this age of COVID crisis, we should reach out to our neighbors. So as long as you know them, not just strangers, but little piece of paper with your name and your address so they know who you are and your telephone number, we should be doing that. And then if they just know that there's somebody that's going to lend them an ear if they need it, maybe they won't reach out that first time if they are in a crisis mode. As things escalate and they need help, they might reach out. You never know.
Absolutely. Sometimes just talking to someone, knowing that someone's there to maybe possibly help de-escalate or get resources if you need it, or just knowing that someone's there will help. Will help anyone that is in experiencing intimate partner violence. Also without judgment too. And I think that's the thing. If somebody out there right now is listening, just know that there are resources throughout the state. There are people that care. It's not your fault. And we're here without judgment to help you in any way you need help. And, there is the family helpline as well for those that have children. If you go to the National Coalition to End Domestic Violence, there are tips to keep you safe in your own home. If you fear for your safety in leaving. And, there are just resources out there, and people are working because they see it's a problem, and the police are still responding to calls, and you are still able to get a restraining order if needed.
Yeah, because I know a lot of hearings are happening remotely and by telephone, but no matter what, you have the access to these services, you have the access to apply for a restraining order. And these programs, I know also statewide, there's Legal Services of New Jersey. They have a 1-800 hotline. If you were to Google that. In our area, we also have Partners for Women in Justice. It's in the Essex County area, but they trickle out a little bit. And it's so important, if you are able to have representation, to have an attorney at your final restraining order hearing. But at least if you can get some legal assistance to talk through and help prep you for that hearing, it can make a world of difference.
It absolutely does.
Armed and ready. Yep.
It absolutely does, because it is very difficult to navigate. I mean, I was a legislator and I had difficulty. The experiences that I had when I was trying to press charges for assault, which I was ultimately successful and they did plead guilty, but it was difficult. It was certainly difficult. And, you can, even if you're afraid that you'll get caught being on one of those pages and you feel like somebody's constantly looking at you, you can message me on Facebook, Maria Rodriguez-Gregg. I can't say how many people I've had reach out to me personally in direct message that I will bend over backwards to help you and do get you the resources that you need. We're all here to help. And at the end of the day, just having somebody there is important. And that we need to really stress that. And again, supporting organizations right now through gift cards, through donations, Even if you're an organization sharing resources, Habitat for Humanity, their Restore, they recently reached out because they had extra feminine hygiene products that they wanted to donate. ShopRite, the local ShopRite, the Rabbits family donated gift cards, and they have been collecting for their food pantries that are collecting. Sometimes if they have some extra, they will donate to those shelters as well. So if you're with an organization right now and you're able to share in your resources, please reach out to these places because they're in need.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know it's a shame that this is also the end of the year. There tends to be fundraising season, but just about April, May, before the summer hits, there's another wave of galas and events raising money for these orgs. So as Brian said earlier with our other segment, if you're getting your stimulus check and you haven't been financially impacted by this crisis, as we always say, pay your bills, pay your roof expenses and the bills that have to be paid. And if you have a little something extra, look into your local areas. There's still domestic violence shelters. There's orgs that are nonprofits that are doing legal services, court representation, all different services.
Absolutely.
That victims need, even though we're in COVID crisis.
And you know what? You may not have the money. I'm not going to lie. I'm not rich. There have been times when bills have been tight and I didn't. You know what? I would do donation drives. And when a friend of mine, Carlos Mercado, he is in South Jersey, his son put out a table out in their front yard and is, soliciting collections for the local food pantry in Vineland. And if a kid can do that, and be quite successful, if you want to help, and right now you feel that you don't have the financial resources to help, but you're able to take care of your bills and everything, just get a list, see what their need is. Maybe they need feminine hygiene products, and post on Facebook, solicit those donations, and you'd be surprised the people that can help. Your network might be more expansive than you think. So really tap into your network. And also don't be afraid to reach out to legislators if you feel there is an issue and you are coming into a hurdle. Because right now, even though in your local community, your elected officials on a state and local level may seem inundated with dealing with coronavirus, this is also something that is absolutely on their radar. And from a bipartisan level, there are several legislators that are working on legislation to help during this crisis, whether that be trying to create a grant for emergency housing, and if you have any listeners that are, have connections to anybody well off, if they want to do what Rihanna did, that would be excellent. He's like, no, we don't. But, and it is bipartisan. Declan O'Scanlan, he's a senator in the Monmouth area. He put out legislation to heighten penalties for domestic violence assaults committed during coronavirus, during this time.
Oh, I was not aware. So that's something that's pending right now?
Yeah, he put that. I'm trying to follow it to see if it's gone through committee yet. I feel like everything's a little slower, but they're all still trying to push these things through. And for him, when he puts a piece of legislation out there like that, it's meaningful. He really does care. It's not just another bill that he's trying to put through. Assemblywoman Joanne Downey has been wonderful. Same with Carol Murphy. On a bipartisan level, everybody's really been working together to try and address these issues.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for doing all that you do. And even just like you said, being an ear, putting the call out that if you need someone to talk to, somebody who's been through it, that no judgment, because I've done this work, and I would say one thing you have to do is survivors should call the shots. They know what's best for them. We should not be pushing. We should not be parenting our clients or people we're advocating for. We should be an ear and make sure that victims, or as we like to call them, survivors, that they're calling the shots and that they're getting the help that they need.
Absolutely. And again, we're here to help. look at Forever Your Overwatch Foundation, FYOfoundation.org. They have ways that they're trying to independently try and help others in crisis situations. And then all of the other orgs that I mentioned earlier in the 1-800 numbers, please check them out. Those resources are there to help you, and check on your neighbors and help the organizations that you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely.
It was nice meeting you.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, Brian, we can't hear you.
Yeah,
Brian,
you're muted. I think
Brian,
he's
you're
muted.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Why do I hear myself? This equipment. All right. So let me ask you this. So thank you again for coming on. I appreciate all the hard work. And for those of you that haven't checked Maria's workout, please do. I did mention this on the show. My dad's a big NASCAR fan, and he's been watching virtual NASCAR now, which is like a video game that they're watching. It's a little weird, but my dad's into it, so whatever. What are roller derby competitors doing nowadays to fill the gap? I know that Maria is an avid roller derbyist. We've been Facebook friends for a long time. I don't even know why we're Facebook friends to begin with. Her posts are mostly about roller derbying, I gotta say. What are you doing? I mean, are you Zoom meeting with the crew and having a beer at least? Or
it's I have to be honest, it's very difficult. My team, I miss them terribly. And if any of them are listening, I wouldn't be surprised if they were already fans, knowing some of their political ideology and everything of your show. But I miss them terribly. It's been very, very difficult. They're just like family to me. So we have been constantly messaging each other on Facebook in our Facebook group. We have all been sharing workout tips, making sure that we get out on our own and skate. Mm-hmm. We have been doing the online games together, the Drawsaurus, Zoom, little happy hours, but we're doing everything we can to stay in shape during this time, not beating ourselves up if we don't stay into shape, but, trying to stay in shape. Looking forward to when we can all skate together again, and just staying together as a team, because the thing about a team is really just having that time together, building that mutual respect, having those goals. And sometimes the best things are just really care about each other, and I have to say I really care about them. It sucks not skating with them right now. It's been very difficult, but we tell each other we miss each other like almost all the time.
Yeah, I bet you. We're all the same way. Thanks again for joining us. And the next time you come on, because I do hope there's a next time, we've got to come up in studio so I can lobby you about cannabis legislation. Cannabis legislation.
I've already been pro legalization for a while.
Well, I'm just saying we should lobby about that.
That's good. I'll do that.
Diane, anything else? We're out of here. Let's do commercials and go home. All right. Thank you, Assemblywoman. Good seeing you. All right.
Thank you.
All right. So let's, Diane, plugs. What do we have to plug? I have mutual aid and some other stuff, but what do we have first from your end of the business?
Well, Sunday, April. Now you're confusing me because of the dates earlier. Sunday, April 26th at 3:00, we are having a virtual meet and greet with Howie Hawkins.
Ooh.
So there is a Facebook page that I will drop a link in to the comments as soon as I find it. So register now. It's for our GPNJ convention. We are having our Green Party presidential nominating convention on May 2nd. Mm-hmm. So no secret, I happen to be a Howie Hawkins supporter.
Who will it
He's
be?
been a dedicated Green for decades.
Very, very suspenseful situation.
Well, I mean,
does Dario have some?
It is, Dario Hawkins is
Dario's welcome. He still has time.
Yeah. I mean, he's
out there. He's got my car.
Second place, but we're not done, right? I wish him good luck, and I wish him to continue to engage with the Green Party, regardless of the outcome.
We hope more people engage with the Green Party. Green Party is a good party to be a part of, and y'all been wasting your time inside the Democratic Party. I love you still, but come, please, check out the Greens. We got good people over there doing great work. Appreciate it very much. Mutual aid work is really something that you're going to see more and more and hear us talk about more and more, I think, here at New Jersey Revolution Radio. But it's so, like, honestly, I'm learning what it is the heck I'm doing. We credited, of course, Mutual, Morris, and others with the work. I, having entered the scene in the last couple of weeks, I'm like, wow, there's a lot to learn here. So on May 3rd, we're going to host an online convention with Zelly Thomas, with Teresa Marquila, with Renee, with Diane. I'm sure will pop in at some point. I'll be there, and you'll see mutual aid work from around the state getting together. We're going to talk about best practices, and we're going to learn from people that have been doing this work for the last few months. Really just, I mean, it's just hopefully if you want to get involved with mutual aid, the idea is you can take something from this day and go back and get your own mutual aid group started or join an existing one, do whatever you want. It's a networking event. It's a learning event. And I'm looking forward to it. More details will come out this weekend, but save your online time May 3rd in the morning from around 9 a.m. till around noon or 1 o'clock. We're going to need that from you. More coming.
9 a.m. is too early. 10. Even in COVID crisis, we still have to sleep in a little bit on Sunday.
You can attend in your pajamas. You don't even have to get up and get dressed for this one. Like literally,
I need to drink coffee first. I need to.
All right. For
do what you're going to do. I'm sorry.
For all of you that are listening, scratch what I just said. Diane Moxley wants to sleep in, so we'll hold off the convention for another hour. 10 a.m. May 3rd. Diane Moxley hosting the Mutual Aid Club.
Or I'll be a little late. It's okay.
It's so you be a little.
Start at 9.
More coming. We'll debate this. We'll form a committee to decide what time.
More info to come.
Save the date at home. Until then, until next week, Wednesday 8 o'clock. Actually, maybe we'll take a week off next week. I don't know. We're going to talk about that afterwards.
But going on.
We'll rebroadcast.
Maybe Sunday will be our Wednesday.
Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Streaming live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. More coming. Donate www.njrevolutionradio.com. This is Brian Powers. Be safe. And remember, the police can quit their jobs.
And this is Diane signing off, reminding you that for now, while the medical experts and science tells us to stay at home, please stay at home. And please do not share your totally off-base YouTube video in regards to the latest conspiracy theory. Read credible info and stay home, stay safe, because we love you.
Night, everybody.
Good night.